moment you've been waiting for.
Here comes the general.
The pride of Mount Vernon.
Here comes the general.
George Washington.
We are outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned. We gotta make an all-out stand. Hey yo, I'm gonna need a right-hand man. Check it. Can I be real a second? For just a millisecond. Let down my guard and tell the people how I feel a second. Now I'm the model of a
On June 15 of 1775, George Washington was appointed to be Chief of the Continental Army by John Adams and John Hancock. He was a Virginian and had experience in the French and Indian War, and he wasn't sure if he had the skills or the experience for the job, but he took it with pride. On August 27, 1776, George Washington knew that they had no chance after he and his men saw how unprepared and unexperienced they were. After the siege of Boston, he realized he needed to plan more strategically and place soldiers for an ambush where the British soldiers would be stationed. Unfortunately, even though their strategies were well planned out, the British still won. George Washington was known for numerous acts, but this act is one of the stealthiest. Washington was the first ever spy master. He had a gang otherwise known as the Culper Spy Ring, and Culper was his spy pseudonym. They gave him early access to British plans, and Benjamin Tallmadge was their main leader after George Washington. Benjamin Tallmadge made a secret code archive, and George Washington was 711. George Washington also created a secret invisible ink decoder, which was urine. George Washington didn't focus on completely destroying the British. Washington needed to get his men out alive, and their morals were low after getting destroyed in New York. He crossed the Delaware River, however, British generals Cornwallis and Howe were right on their back, but Howe delayed the ambush, which allowed Washington and his men to arrive at Trenton. Before they made their departure to Pennsylvania, he found and took every boat so that the British or any people that had been following were stranded. From his spy ring, he was told that Hessian troops were stationed in Trenton. So he sailed 2,400 men to the station and took more than 900 Hessian soldiers as prisoners. They won a major victory with pride, and that would contribute to the victory at Yorktown. On September 27, 1777, George Washington was surprised by a full fleet of the British Army when they only expected a small troop. They were forced to give up Philadelphia, and they retreated, and it became the longest one-day battle. In the Battle of Germantown, George Washington planned a surprise attack on 9,000 British soldiers. However, they were forced to retreat because of their bad luck and repetitive tactics. Many men were starving and freezing with little to no water. Many men had thin clothing and no shoes at times. This was when Washington started to doubt their chances, but a Frenchman by the name of Marquis Lafayette helped them pass through the winter and gave them the proper training.
After a week of fighting, a young man in a red coat stands on a parapet.
We lower our guns as he frantically waves their white handkerchief.
And just like that it's over, we tend to our wounded, we count our dead.
Black and white soldiers wonder alike if this really means freedom.
Not yet.
We negotiate the terms of surrender. I see George Washington smile. We escort their men out of Yorktown. They stagger home single file. Tens of thousands of people flood the streets. There are screams and church bells ringing. And as our fallen foes retreat, I hear the drinking song they're singing.